James Lankford comes to Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm Chris Casteel in the Washington Bureau of the Oklahoman. I'm here with the Republican nominee in the 5th Congressional District, James Lankford, making your first trip to Washington since winning the Republican nomination last month. You've got a general election coming up, and you're up here, I guess, just trying to make the rounds, raise a little money. Tell me about your week up here.
Yeah, getting a chance to meet with leadership, meeting with the Oklahoma delegation, getting a chance to say hello and chat with them, and then also getting a chance to talk with some of the Republican leadership here. Met with John Boehner and with Eric Cantor, with Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy, and just other folks that are in that Republican leadership. Get a chance to introduce myself. Obviously, I'm not known by the folks here in Washington, D.C., and I want to get a chance to get a point of reference with them.
Right, you're not known. You're an outsider, obviously, outsider status, working against the status quo. Which it's an interesting week for you to be up here for a couple of reasons. That Congress just got back amid a lot of polls showing that the Republicans have a good chance of recapturing the House. It's also a week where a Tea Party candidate in Delaware surprised a lot of people. And I know you're not, a member of the Tea Party, and we really didn't have a lot of Tea Party action in races this year in Oklahoma. But I was just wondering if you feel any kind of connection to the Tea Party and their issues, their fiscal issues.
Right, the fiscal issues most definitely. And in Oklahoma, there's really not a membership in the Tea Party. There's really not a Tea Party candidate that's out there.
Right.
It's a group of people just like other Oklahomans that are out there that are very frustrated with how we're spending and how we're running the government now.
Right.
And so I do have a connection with that, because I think a lot of Oklahomans have a connection with that, whether they attend Tea Party events or not. I think Oklahomans generally believe the function of government right now is not going well. We're spending too much. We're running people over. People are trying to say, hey, stop, and they continue to move forward.
Right. And a lot of these candidates, the Tea Party candidates in races, are running against, quote, establishment, Republican candidates. They're not any more, satisfied with the Republican Party than they are with the Democratic Party. And I was just wondering if, as I said, there's a lot of talk about the Republicans maybe being able to capture enough seats to get the House again. If you were to win your own race and the Republicans were to take over the House, how would you want your party to act this time? Because obviously the Republicans got fired too. Right. The Democrats have been in control. So people didn't really like the way they were doing things either. What should they do differently?
And I think Americans should fire people if they're not honoring their commitments on it. And I think there are really two issues that came up. One of the issues of character, that we're not keeping our word, we're not keeping our promises and actually doing what we said we're going to do, or living a life of integrity. People don't like to be embarrassed about how people are really representing them, especially in a place called the House of Representatives. You want that person to actually represent you. And the other thing is, we're just grossly spending. We were increasing the size of government as well as Republicans. And we have got to live by the basic principles. We have a platform. We should actually vote that platform and live those basic free market principles.
Is that going to be hard to do you think? I mean, is it going to be hard to get that the budget closer to balance?
Well, I can tell you, in the leadership that I was visiting with this week, I was taking for them both who I am and what I'm all about, and introducing myself to them, but also taking the message of, here's what I'm hearing from Oklahoma. They're not in Oklahoma like I am in that, and I want to be able to say what I hear people say all the time is, we're spending too much and we're out of control. We have got to stop spending. And they were nodding their heads and saying, yes, we get that. We're hearing that as well from other parts of the country. We've got to pull back and be careful in the way we're handling spending.
Right.
So I do think they're hearing the message, and now it's just the implementation of that.
Let me ask you real quick. There's a big debate going on right now between the two parties over the, quote, Bush tax cuts, the tax cuts that were passed in 2001 and 2003. Whether you let them expire for families making over $250,000, or if you renew them all. What's your own position on that?
Well, there's a couple things with that. I don't really call them the Bush tax cuts. I mean, they're tax cuts that are in place. This is really what I would affectionately call the Pelosi tax increases, because we're talking about increasing taxes on everybody at this point. And by their inactivity, they're basically saying, if I do nothing, I'm going to increase tax on everybody, including the estate tax, which will be outrageous the way they're handling the death tax starting in January. So currently all the conversation is, are we going to keep taxes at the level they are, or are we going to raise taxes? That's really the conversation. And then the second side of it is this whole thing about whether it's for wealthy or whether it's for the middle class. I really am against tax increases for everybody. I don't see anybody in our economy that says, gosh, they really need their taxes increased. So it's this point in this economy, at this stage of what's going on, we shouldn't be raising taxes. Third part of this for me is, the Democrats are in control of the House and the Senate right now. They control both bodies overwhelmingly. They could do anything they want, yet they're pointing to Republicans and saying they're blocking all this.
Right.
That's absurd. They're just playing politics. Their own group, their own party, is struggling with this whole issue of is this the right time to raise taxes on everybody? So the Democrats could be raising taxes or could be lowering taxes any way they want to, yet they're pointing to Republicans and saying, no, it's their fault. It's just more of the same. It is the classic status quo, point to the other guy when it's really my fault.
Right. Well, that's Washington.
Yes, it is.
Obviously, you know, the 5th District hasn't elected a Democrat for many, many years. I think it's been since 1977 since a Republican represented the 5th District.
75, actually, yeah.
What's it? But you've still got you've got a Democratic opponent. You've got an
Absolutely.
independent opponent. You lost one of the independents, Dave White, who was
Right.
running, came out and endorsed you this week and decided to re-register as a Republican. How do you feel about the race, and what do you plan to do for the next 50 or so days?
We're going to still keep doing the same things we've been doing. I know that sounds cliche, but we're going to continue meeting people. We're going to continue talking about the issues. Billy and I have already had some forum-type debates.
Billy Coyle, the Democrat.
That's right. We got a chance to interact and talk about the issues with people and answer questions from folks, and I think it's a great idea to be able to continue to do. So we'll just keep on doing that. But we're not assuming anything on this race. I know folks have come to me and said, hey, it looks really good. And I go, well, that's nice. But we're just going to keep working and keep going. There are folks in Massachusetts that were looking at Martha Coakley's race 2 years ago and saying, you know, that's a safe Democrat seat and we don't have to work hard. So we don't consider any seat safe Republican. We keep presenting the message and let the people decide where they want to go with it.
All right. Well, James, thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. May see you later this year.
Great.
And look for more on this in the Oklahoman and on newsok.com.